Now, we saw the way the media treated Elon Musk after his salute from the heart. They were calling him a Nazi, saying he was doing some sort of a Heil Hitler salute, which was just so dishonest. Well, Democrat Cory Booker did something, well, pretty much exactly the same in the last couple of days, and there was no condemnation, no accusations. Many didn't even report on it. And Kosha, I guess this goes to the point of why they feel like the media deserves to be treated with disdain, because it's just discredited itself.
Time and again, and when you think they can't sink any lower, you see these examples. And it's not even about hypocrisy, it's about hierarchy. So Cory Booker, you see, is higher in the totem pole, where he gets extra protections that the other side doesn't. There's many people who've done this. And I think the good thing is that media has been democratized because of the internet and social media, that these clips do get out there, other programs like yours, and the social media covers it. And that just further delegitimizes the mainstream media unless they wise up to that, but they don't seem to be doing it thus far.
And sticking with the media, yesterday we had CNN claiming that the Colorado terror attack was carried out by a white man. And here we have NBC going to great lengths not to use the words like Jews or even pro-Israel, calling the victims of the attack Gaza hostage awareness marches. I mean, really, Kosha.
If the backdrop wasn't as tragic, like it's almost funny. And they really are the kings and queens of linguistics. They always have been. So you have the Gaza awareness marchers, you had the Maryland dad, that famous case. And even back in during then President Obama and Hillary Clinton's, I'm reminded of the story of the terrorist attack in Colombo, Sri Lanka, on Easter Sunday. And both of them referred to them as Easter worshippers because they couldn't use the word Christians on Easter Sunday. So they're very aware of words and which words they use, which words they don't use. But again, to your point earlier, in this day and age of just podcasts and media and social media, we all are discussing it and seeing right through it. So I just think it's a losing strategy, but they seem to be addicted to it.
Now, in recent weeks, we've had a governor's house firebombed. We've had 2 Israeli embassy workers murdered in cold blood. And now this attack in Colorado, several pro-Israel protesters set alight, badly hurt. If there was a right-wing group or movement behind these sorts of attacks, it would be leading news coverage all around the world. It would all be as such a crisis that needs to be addressed. But it seems like we've got a fairly permissive attitude when it comes to violence from the left. We saw that throughout the BLM riots, and we're seeing it again with this anti-Israeli movement.
It feels like it's a next dimension on this continuum where we talked at the top about culture and the culture is shifting and corporates aren't virtue signaling as much. Then we've talked about the media losing its potency and legitimacy because we can all see through their games. And now this is where it gets really serious, where it's actual violence taking place. And that double standard, again, still continues. And as you say, BLM or even the Antifa riots before that in Portland and elsewhere. So this feels like the last frontier. If the right can somehow crack this and just reclaim the narrative around that, which they're doing, the current administration, in terms of their law and order agenda, that will be another big win in this continuum that we're on.
And we see that everywhere. There was Antifa, you mentioned. There was some violence in California where they were there to protest against, I think, some Christians who were gathering. And we see it right here in Australia when we have the Let Women Speak marches. And there's always some sort of a counter-protest because they're not allowed to speak without the far-left activists disrupting them. On Colorado, there's been a lot of commentary in the past 24 hours about this image, summing up the modern Democrat Party. Let's have a look at it. Kosha, what do you say to this? There's a lot happening in that picture.
Oh my goodness, I could say modern Democrat Party in an AI simulator, and I don't think it would come out very different from that. You've got the flag in the background, it's like perfectly framed in the middle. You have this violent person and just the heinous acts he committed. He's shirtless, he's not in particularly good shape, he's an illegal immigrant, throwing a Molotov cocktail, and I think it does sum it up, everything we just talked about, the cultural virtue signaling, the way the media is covering it, and then the violence from the left that's been getting away, but not for long. We'll see what's going to happen. Some judge is likely going to block his deportation, but cases like this only help the cause politically on the other side because these are not sympathetic figures.
And Trump's made that point. Mohammed Solomon, the alleged attacker there, is an Egyptian national in the US illegally. He's overstayed his visa, entered the US during the Biden administration, sought asylum in 2022, was granted the right to work. Is the Biden administration in any way to blame for this? So they let millions through, unvetted, and you're going to get characters like this amongst them.
100%. I think this really personifies what we know. So we know the numbers and the ridiculous 11 million plus that were allowed to pour in through 4 years. And then the particulars of this case where he was caught even by the ICE agents in the Biden administration, but was let go because that was the policy, catch and release. And then he was rewarded with legal work access, even though he overstayed his visa. So you're just creating magnets and rewarding. So every issue that we talk about all gets personified in this case, and then he goes and does what he did. So it really just puts a huge red line, I think, under this issue in a way that had never happened before, and hopefully the current administration can take advantage of that momentum and do something about it.
Now, before you go, we talked about that cultural shift across the US. Let's have a look at another example of that. This is something we wouldn't have seen a few years ago, certainly wouldn't have seen it in Trump's first term. Watch here as football legends and current Pittsburgh Steelers stars pay tribute to Donald Trump in Pennsylvania.
I'd like to present this to a Hall of Fame president. Please accept it.
How about this president of ours, huh? Just wanted to say God bless you, President Trump, and God bless you, Pittsburgh.
Now, that was Pittsburgh Steelers legend and Vietnam War vet Rocky Blair and current quarterback Mason Rudolph and defensive back Miles Killebrew. I mean, that is something we wouldn't have seen kosher just a few years ago. Those players, current players, would have been cancelled. There would have been all sorts of uproar. No one really was bothered by any of that. I didn't see too much backlash at all.
So true. There's that old adage, I think, attributed to Andrew Breitbart, that politics is downstream from culture. Every once in a while, in a case like Donald Trump, who's very unique, it almost feels like culture is downstream from politics. And just his whole story, even before politics and since then, the comeback, being the underdog, being counted out and coming, is like classic American stuff. Everybody loves that story, even though they've been trained not to admit it. And this carries a lot of weight when you have NFL stars and Hall of Fame legends doing that. The other piece, too, is since it's the Steelers, Pittsburgh, that is a key constituency of Trump. Pennsylvania, and particularly that town, the Steelers and Miners, didn't go to Republicans since Ronald Reagan, 40 years. And he, in both terms, turned that around. And I think that's sort of the other piece of it. And the Steelers, of course, exemplify that part of his constituency.
Kosher Gator, thanks for your time tonight.